In the 12th chapter of 2 Corinthians, Paul spoke about an issue that he was dealing with. He said that he had sought the Lord several times about this infirmity in his flesh. When we think about what Paul meant, we wonder, was it an illness or was it possibly an issue of character? You see, when Paul said 3 times, I sought the Lord about this, and the response that he got was, the Lord said, my grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in your weakness. And Paul's response was, most gladly, therefore, will I rather glory in my infirmities, that the power of Christ might rest upon me. It could have been an illness, but when I look at the fact that the Lord told him, my grace is sufficient for thee. Sickness is one of the fruits of the tree of sin. But when we no longer walk in sin, are we still under the curse of the illness that comes from the tree of sin? I would think not. So personally, what I believe, what I feel in my heart, is that Paul had an affliction that was a moral issue. Could have been that he had a problem with looking at women. Whatever it was, the scriptures say, my grace is sufficient for thee. What is grace? It is unmerited favor. In other words, it's consideration in the face of your lack of ability to meet the current requirement. The Lord said, my grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in your weakness. The thing about it is, we have to find the weaknesses that we have in a moral world. I don't know what it is. You could have an issue with road rage. You could have an issue with having to be right. Whatever it is, most likely you don't even know it's there. But until we find out what it is, the infirmity in our flesh that we need to seek God about because we're having trouble dealing with it, until we find out what it is, we're not going to go to him with it. Because once we go to him with it, then his grace is sufficient and his strength is made perfect in our weakness. But how is it that we could fall short of that being possible? Proverbs 16:18 says, pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. Pride will stop you from seeing where you're falling short of God. The $500 suit, the Gucci shoes, that walk that you got going in and out of church on Sunday, you meet the criteria of everybody's eyes. But are you meeting the criteria of God's eyes? My question to you today is the strength of God made perfect in you? Because it's made perfect in you through your weakness. The weakness is that you know you've got to keep that thing surrendered to God every day. Because in that do you remain before him. And because you're before him, he's constantly cleansing your life. But first, we have to remove the pride and the haughtiness that stops us from understanding there's something that needs to be worked on. You got it all right, but something's still missing. Something to think about.